Oh, good people, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, good night, good whatever time you are watching this. Thank you for joining. My name is Dr. Nabi Hanacho. I am the founder of NSTAR Technologies. Welcome to Workforce Ready with NSTAR. This platform, we talk about just tools and resources to help you as you navigate transition into corporate America and thrive. That's what this is about. And so I'm excited. We are back. Last week, I reintroduced NSTAR 2.0, but today we'll jump right in. I hope you have taken notes and let's get into because I want to start directly with a question, right? For every professional who is listening to this, for every person who is you work a job, whether 9 to 5 or self-employed or whatever category you belong to. I have a question for you. Right? If you looked at every result you have delivered in the last 3 years, the projects you completed, the problems you have solved, the people that you've led, the value you created, and if you mapped that against what professionals with equivalent impact are earning in the market, what would that gap look like? Right? If you took everything you've done and basically compared it with people who have done the same things in the market, what would that look like? Is there a gap? What is that gap? What would that comparison be like, right? All those numbers look like. For most professionals, that gap is significant, especially for African immigrants, African diaspora, some of our first gen people. That's a significant gap a lot of the time. And it is not a function of, your capacity, your abilities, your expertise. It's a concept that I want to talk about today, and it's called experience positioning, right? The experience positioning gap. Right. I'm going to explain today exactly what that is, why it exists, and why it's fixable, right? We're not just going to call out the problem. We will talk through a way to ensure that we are addressing this problem, and then we are going to, walk through different uh, um, solution. So before we get in, a few things I want to highlight. Experience, right? We're talking about the experience positioning gap. What exactly is experience? Experience speaks to what you have done, what you know, and what you are capable of, right? It's something that it's inherent inside of you. It's real. You have done it, you know it, you've lived it. Basically, that is why it's called experience, right? It is like back home where I'm from, was the experience is the best teacher. Now it's arguable whether it's the best teacher or not, but it's something you've done, you're capable of doing, right? It's inherent inside of you. Now, positioning is how the market, how your employer, how the market sees you, how the people who make hiring decisions, how those who make promotion decisions, how they see you, how the market sees you. You know, what how you perceive, because it's basically, we talk about branding, right? And in the world of media, and people talk about everybody having a personal brand and what that implies. A brand is just about perception. But when people think of you, what do they think about? Right? From a professional perspective, it's the same thing. Your positioning is kind of the same thing. Oh, when you come to mind, what do people think about? And when people think of you, what comes to their mind first? Right? That's your positioning. Oh, they think about, this person is a trainer. This person is a fitness person. This person is really hardworking. This person is really good at this technology. This person speaks very eloquently. When your name comes, oh, is that guy that speaks? For some, it's, oh, that person that has an excellent, great smile. Right. So your positioning, and it may have very little to do with your actual experience. Right. Your positioning may have very little to do with your actual experience. A lot of professionals invest almost all of their energy building experience, but don't invest any energy into building their positioning. What that means is the way the market sees you is incomplete, and sometimes very, very incomplete, very significant, like who they perceive you as versus what you actually are. I'll tell you a story. Recently, we went on vacation. I shared this. It's a funny story, but it paints this picture a little bit. I have three daughters, right? My youngest daughter came. We were by, it was our spring break, so we went to Middle Beach, and we were, late chilling. There's a hammock by the place where we stayed. There was a hammock. And so I was out there hanging out. The wife was chilling by the pool, and my youngest daughter came, and she wanted to do cartwheels, and she asked me to do cartwheels with her. I'm like, sure. I was feeling froggy, feeling really good. I'd been resting a lot, all of that. feeling light. I hadn't eaten, just some coffee that day. And so I did cartwheels. My daughter did cartwheels, and I did. In fact, mine was immaculate because, again, I'm just born in the wrong country. but athletes, have very athletic tendencies. And so I rolled out a cartwheel, and my wife was shocked. She had never seen me do anything like that before, like do a perfect cartwheel. So she thought in her mind that when she saw me going to do a cartwheel, she thought it was just going to be one very unathletic kind of, all of that. But I could do a cartwheel. So all of this time, her perception of me was do a cartwheel, even though she knows I'm an athlete, even though she knows I am, I still try to keep fit. I still have a little bit of athleticism. I still do a thing here or there. I still run all the time, and so, but so even though I have the experience and the expertise and the ability to do a cartwheel, the person I lived with all my life, not all my life, but for the last 13 years, 12 years, going on our 13th year now, that we have been married, did not believe I could do it. So her perception of me was incomplete. What if, that was a gig I was supposed to be getting paid for, right? They did not even, if they had asked her to hire somebody who will come do cartwheels to entertain the kids, I would not be on the list of people to be hired. Does that make sense? Right? I would not make the cuts for people who were going to even be interviewed because my positioning did not put me as a cartwheel kind of guy. It's what a lot of us are going through is you are not, your positioning is not telling the whole story. And what's happening is you're excellent at what you do, but you're being compensated for a fraction of what you're worth, right? You are able to do all of these things, but you're being paid for only this because that's all the market sees you as, right? You can do all of this, but this is all you're getting paid for because of your positioning. And so it's so important to keep this in mind. Again, think of it like a brand. It's about perception. People will pay you for their perception of what they think you can do or what they feel you are able to do. You are not going to get into consideration for certain things. Like you're not going to be in the conversation for certain opportunities, right? Based off of how the market perceives you. That experience perception gap. So the gap between what you can actually do versus what they think you can do, what LinkedIn thinks you can do, what your bosses think you have the ability to, what's the decision making world, who is the markets that's paying for services believes you're able to do. That gap is it's the gap between what you're earning and what you should be earning or what you deserve to be earning, right? That market positioning gap. Okay, so for example, and it can be again just around perception of what you do versus how it's placed, right? The average salary for a program manager in the United States is $119,000. That's a program manager. This is an example. I want to give an example of this whole positioning thing. The average salary for a project coordinator is $58,000. The mind-blowing thing is if you pull the job descriptions and see the skill requirements for these two positions, the skill overlap between these two roles is significant. That means if you are a project coordinator, you have pretty much all of the necessary skills required to be a program manager, right? The way the role of a a project coordinator is perceived is so different from a program manager. One is perceived in a particular light as a leadership, higher tier role, while the other is perceived more like a tier above secretarial, administrative type, just, hey, get meeting minutes, coordinate, give updates type. But the skill set requirements, pretty much the same thing. But you see, it's a almost $60,000 gap in salary based off of just position, right? That's the difference. The experience requirements, they are not that different. It's almost about positioning, how they are seen, what they're associated with, what lane the market has placed them in. You see this a lot again, I don't want to get into sports, but you see certain positions. Quarterback makes a ton of money, but that is the position you can get away with the least athleticism, right? Boy, okay, yeah, you can use. You see a lot of the kicker they are all football players, but the kicker probably makes a couple million if they are highly paid. right? Versus someone on the same team making 150 million. And so it's incredible how this perception, and a lot of those kickers were quarterbacks back in the day. They started by throwing the ball. And so the market is going to value you based on positioning, right? And so the thing that you're doing, how you tell that story, how you position yourself, is going to be the difference between in your salary, in how you are paid, in how you're compensated. Right now, why does this affect immigrants and first generation professionals harder than most? And so let's get into it. Immigrant and first gen professionals were taught by our families, by our culture, by our experience of navigating systems that will not do for us, that the path forward is performance, right? Work harder than everybody else, be twice as good, keep your head down and deliver. How many people can relate to that? Where that's the mindset that we get into the workforce with. It's work hard. It's let your work speak for itself. Let your work do the talking. No need to talk. No need to brag. We don't shout, right? We used to have that saying back home, can't shout. I can't shout. Bruh, in this economy, in this society, you have to shout, because if not, you will get lost in the crowd. Somebody else will take credit for your work. Somebody else will come and do the presentation and insert themselves into the project you almost single-handedly delivered. And so the first part is important. We need to be hardworking. We already have that inherent in us. We are already going to outwork everybody else. We're already going to show up. We have already been conditioned to show up. But the part where this position, where we are missing the mark and we are, you know, removing ourselves from considerations for opportunities, is we haven't mastered the art of telling and being loud about what we do, about being our own advocates, right? That is a challenge that's unique to most of the time immigrants, first gen folks, right? And again, the work hard, put your head down. It's not wrong advice. It is just incomplete. Okay, because in most corporate environments, performance is necessary, but it's not sufficient for advancement. Positioning, who knows you? I talked about belonging capital in my TEDx talk, right? Who knows you? Who knows you exist? Who knows about what you're able to do, and who is willing to be an advocate for you, especially in those decision-making rooms where you are not there, right? It's very important. That's what actually determines what happens to you next. It's not just your work speaking for itself. It's making sure people know that it's your work. It's easy for work if you work in a big corporation and people don't get, well, people will know nowadays. Somebody will just, for a CEO, a manager who has a staff, a team of 50 people, 100 people they are managing. They don't think in terms of individuals per se. They have maybe their core leaders who they sit around the circle with, that they are familiar with. Outside of that, it's about deliverables, right? All what they care about is inspiring, encouraging, and making sure things are being delivered. And so you in your corner, you might not have the visibility, right? It's not your manager, your direct people who you work might know you did this work, but the decision makers might not know it's you. And so that's why you have to wear yours like a badge. Like a lot of the time, I do this funny thing where, back in the day, I'll say, hey, make sure you tell the boss I helped you out. Somebody, oh, now thank you so much. That was great. Make sure so and so hears about it, right? I say it in a funny way, but like, hey, make sure I get my flowers, put it in somewhere, send that email saying thank you, Nambi. Let my name pop up in emails for delivering this. Oh, like it's super important that you are making sure that yes, the project is being delivered, but somebody is putting a certain amount of work, right? That's timidity, that not being able to like raising your hand and say, hey, that's me, I did that. I worked on that, and while I was working on it, this is what I da. It's important because then you are being an advocate for yourself. Then you are making sure, you're making sure that your work, you're not just letting your work speak for itself. You are making sure that the work is speaking, but you are letting them know and everybody know that, hey, behind this work is a human being who is intelligent, who is capable, and who can do more if more opportunity, if he better compensated. That's your job, right? And so it's very important to keep that in mind, right? The informal networks that transmit, position intelligence, the mentors, right, who tell you when to ask for promotion. You need those people. The sponsors who put your names and mention your name in rooms that you're not in. The peers who shared your written rules. You know how there are certain things that happen. There are certain rules of the game that you might not be aware of. You just started working here and you are heads down, get it done. You want to make a good impression. And some people know the right people to be talking to. I remember just, working for a corporation, a major corporation here in Georgia. I started working hard. I was really excited and I was doing stuff. And I know I was making a good impression on my colleagues, right? I was, young and willing to get things done, but for one of the gentlemen that I worked with, a little older gentleman, he was just impressed by my desire to constantly learn and consume content. And I'll ask him questions. I'll go talk to him and I'm working on this and I'll check in on what he's doing. Again, like this, he was a team lead at the time. And so I was making sure that the team lead was knowing I was interested. Again, I genuinely was interested, but it was also important that I was asking questions instead of just trying to figure it out myself. And time came when he became an advocate for me. He was sure, hey, Nambi, I'll take you to this place. I'll introduce you to this person. He started taking me to the places and the people. I started meeting people that could get, how you have when you start a new job, you have the general random introductions, but those don't really mean anything. Then down the road, you start having this, you start getting the real introduction to the ones that are going to really be the ones, the people who make things happen, the individuals who actually run the show behind the show. And I remember him just taking me around and floor by floor. So again, no longer the general, like, hey, this person works here and this person works here. No, no. I started meeting the real people. Because somebody picked interest. But they picked interest because I kept on working that relationship, and it started to grow. And so now they were willing to introduce me to and connect me to resources and people. So that is positioning. The sponsor that is mentioning your name in your room, the mentor that's telling you these are the ropes. This is how to navigate. This is avoid this or go here. The colleagues who have been there who again, so many stories to tell here. One of the most fundamental roles as a database administrator, right? For me being a database engineer, one of the things I teach my students is you have to know how to do backups. It's the most fundamental thing. If you don't know how to do backups, you're going to get in trouble. And one day you need your backups to save you, right? This is how close I got to my colleagues and how the relationship was. One came and said, hey, Nam, if you need any help with anything, I can even show you how to do a backup. Like, it was a case of, I don't even care if you don't know anything. I will show you, right? And I was laughing because, like, hey, that's fundamental. I do this in my sleep. But that's how much relationship, like, we normally, if you figure out somebody who is a database administrator doesn't know how to do backups, you should be upset and probably appalled. These guys were willing to, like, hey, I will show you if you need to, because you are a guy. And so that's what, positioning and nurturing relationship, that's how it works, right? It's not, again, it's not how we were raised to those things, don't talk to strangers. That was a thing, be careful, don't talk too much, be calm. There was a lot of, the curiosity was almost beaten out of us. A lot of time, a lot of us, just the confidence, the strength to stand up for yourself publicly or interact with strangers. A lot of people here, even in the United States, just being immersed in the community, I see this a lot. Some people struggle with just getting, like, striving outside of our community. If you remove them from the circle where it's all Africans, they struggle. In fact, some people, you take them from their own home country and put them still in African community, but different from where they're from. It's a hassle. Like, engagement, interaction, all of that, it's a struggle for them. And so it's that's just the culture that we live in, or that we were raised in. But now we are in a new system, we're in a new situation, right? And so we have to face the reality that we've been dealt with. Once you see it clearly, you can begin to work deliberately, right, to resolving it, instead of wondering why your work is not producing results as it should, right? Because I want to call out this thing so that you can start working towards, okay, what do I need to adjust? Okay, what do I need to change? What do I need to, where do I need to start making adjustments? All right. So I want to introduce 3 profiles to you, and just to further buttress this conversation that we're having around positioning gap. Right. And so the first profile, again, these are just hypothetical case studies, just to still buttress and really highlight the importance. We have profile number 1 is somebody in healthcare operations. Let's call her Daisy. All right, 12 years in healthcare. If you're an Adeze, this is just a miracle. It's not you. 12 years in healthcare operations, works at a large hospital system. He has managed budgets, led cross-functional teams, delivered complex process redesigns. Everyone who works here knows she's exceptional. Her current salary is $72,000. The director of healthcare operations role that opened up at her organization last year, she was fully qualified for this. She went, but that job went to an external hire at 130,000. Not because she was not capable, but because she had not built the positioning that made her the obvious internal candidate. Again, a lot of this is hypothetical, but it happens. For somebody, this has happened to you where, I could do this. I'm supposed to be in line for this. And then they hire external. That's because you are not the first person. Again, you have to be top of mind when decision making happens. People will hire their friends, they will hire relatives, they will hire people based on connections. Let's look at another profile. This one is in corporate management. We'll call this person David. David has 8 years of management experience across 2 organizations. He has a finance and operations background, strong track record. He's earning $78,000 per year. He knows he could be earning significantly more, but does not have a clear enough picture of which direction to move or how to make the transition visible to the people who could accelerate it. So he knows I can do a lot more. How many of us are in that situation? How many of us are in that place where I know I am equipped for this? I should start considering leadership roles, but I don't even know how to start navigating that conversation, how to start positioning myself. We have a program that we are launching next month called the Career Architecture Intensive. We have our corporate advancement out at every second Saturday of the month. We are having that May 23rd or so this month. If you're watching this, make sure you sign up for that. These are the conversations that we're having. We're going in depth. But our Career Architecture Intensive, you actually work out your own playbook on how you need to accelerate your own career. That I wanted to just quickly say that. But this is the reality a lot of us are facing right now, where you have this, you are overqualified for your current role, and you can see at roles ahead of you, and you believe you're qualified, but you don't even know how to position yourself, what tricks to make on your resume, who to start these conversations with to get to where rightfully believe you deserve. So that's profile number 2. The third profile I want to highlight is someone in enterprise tech. We'll call this person Yemi. 6 years of data and systems work, sound and technically strong. Her LinkedIn profile says data analyst. And that was because that was the first title her first title, and she never updated it to reflect that what she actually does now. She's now doing data engineering work, but she's being paid as an analyst. The market for the work she's actually doing pays between 95,000 to 130,000, but she's earning 67,000. Again, positioning. The annoying part about this one is you're already doing the work, but you're not being paid. So you have the title. This is a trap a lot of us fall into. Our work is because you're so proficient, you want to get things done, you start taking on more and taking on more, but you're not negotiating for more. You're not positioning yourself, right? And what I would say, maybe within your company, there is not that opportunity to advance, but at least your LinkedIn profile, let people start coming to you with like, hey, are you interested in a position that can do this? Because once you see that the scope of your work has changed and has elevated, at least let the world know that you are doing more than what this thing is, right? Go update your LinkedIn profile to reflect what you currently do. It's so important, right? It's so important. Okay, so you see, again, I've talked to 3 different profiles, 3 different domains, 3 different situations. The same root cause, the same issue in every case. The gap is not about their capacity or what they are capable of. It's about how clearly that capability is visible to the people and to the market that determines what they get paid. The market will pay you based on what you put as your price tag, right? It's how you price yourself, that's how it's going to be where the starting negotiation will be from, right? If you go to a parking lot, if you go to a dealership and you see cars listed, you're going to price the cars based on, you see certain cars and this car is priced at $80,000. First thought to not be, I want to price to see if I can get this for 40. You already know, okay, this is what my budget is because the price tag has said it is $80,000 for this vehicle. And so if you want to go get a deal, you can either ask for things to be thrown in or you will price, hey, can we come down on this? Or you start looking for how to do payment plans and financing and all of that. But you're not going to come and say, can I pay $30,000 for this car? Right? You're not going to do that because the price tag, you already know there's a standard that's set at. It's the same thing. It is the price tag you put out. And I'm not talking about just saying this is my salary expectation, but there is how you put out your profile that people know, like, hey, this person is worth, there's what the market is paying for people with this skill set. There's what the market is paying for people with this title, right? Again, you might not have that title at your current job, but you are doing the thing. Make sure it's reflecting so that when people that want to come price, people are looking for people that have that skill set. They put you in the box of people that are supposed to be earning this amount of money, right? If not, you're just going to be an underpaid great employee, right? And so it's so important. This intentional positioning, especially this experience positioning gap, it's a real situation within our community, and we have to be intentional about just making sure that the market sees us, sees our values, sees us for who we are. The people that make decisions at your job, uh, within your peers, your colleagues. Make sure people are advocating for you. Make sure you are advocating yourself for yourself. Make sure you're nurturing relationships, so that when it is time for decisions to be made about hiring, about promoting, you're top of mind for the positions that you deserve. And so it's so important to keep this in mind. Again, keep those profiles in mind. Which one of those do you fall into? But your work will not speak for itself. That's why I'll close. Your work will speak, but you should be the louder advocate for your work. You speak for your work, you let the world know what you're able to do, and set your own price tag by how you position yourself. I wish you all the best. I'm rooting for you. I believe in you. Let's go win. Now, again, May 23rd, we are having our corporate advancement hour. It's going to be incredible. We had it last month. It's going to be a monthly recurring thing. It's 90 minutes of just pure content around how to advance in your career. We'll take questions. We'll have meaningful conversations. It's virtual, so go ahead and register. If you go to nstartechnology.com/corporate advancement hour, corporate-advancement-hour, go in there, sign up for the event. It's going to be incredible. You're going to gain a ton of value. I can't wait to host you. Myself and Stella will be hosting that. So look forward to seeing you.